Starting a business is the worst you can do if you want to actually have wealth. Again, starting a business is the literal worst thing to do if you want to have wealth. And it's not that having a business means that you don't get wealth. It's the wrong way to think about it. And most people, like myself, want to start making more money, you want to grow your income, and you want to live more freely through your finances. The first thing you think is, how can I start to get more money? And you think, start a business. That's the start a business. And I was speaking with a friend recently, and the conversation was not about business, but they said, yeah, I want to start my own business. And in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really hope they don't do that. And it's the opposite of preying on their downfall. It's like I'm literally praying for their uprise that I want them to not start a business. And it's because the same when people want to grow their income, that's the first thing they think. It's the first thing that blurts out of their mouth. And the first thing you want to do is have an LLC and start making products or manufacturing and starting your own business. Before you start a business, realize that the business is not going to make you rich and the business is not going to make you money or income the way that you think it is, right? And we think, okay, I have this Demon brush and I'm gonna buy this in bulk and then I'm gonna go and resell them at a higher price on Amazon or change the labeling and do a white label brush. A white label is essentially a product that's already manufactured. It could also be an actual cosmetic product as well. And you slap your name on it, and that's called white labeling. A product that's already made, formulated, tested, proven, and you slap your name on it, right? And that's how a lot of these dupes are able to be made in the industry, but that's a different topic. So you choose to white label some brushes, and we're going to call it kydreamsbig brush, right? And you say, I'm going to go sell these at a higher price, and that's going to be my business. Selling something for a higher price of money, you're only profiting the difference. So if I buy a bulk for $100 and I end up making $300 on it, my investment minus how much the actual products cost is my profit. Now I want you to tell me the profit that I just made, how do I get that again? What you can pause the video and really literally think about it and then resume the video and hear what I have to say. The only way you make more money in a business is by selling more things, doing more things, or expanding the business you already have. The problem with thinking that a business is going to make you rich is that you fail to understand that you have to continuously contribute to make money. If I don't buy inventory, I don't make money. If I don't feel like posting on Instagram or TikTok or stories or YouTube that day and that's what drives my sales, I make no money that day. And you know what's even worse is that humans are fleeting. So you can have a ton of followers one day and literally no interaction or engagement the next day. And when you base your business off of something that is literally inconsistent, as in humans and their purchase habits and etc., especially if you're selling something that isn't a necessity, and you're selling something that doesn't necessarily fit a lot of people, like it's a niche thing. It's not that it won't make you money. It's not that it's a bad idea. It's not that you shouldn't do it. It's that you need to do it with the understanding that a business is not going to make you rich. It simply is another funding method. Having a business is, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. Having a business is the same thing as having a job that you pay for. When you go to a 9 to 5, all of the responsibilities are signed off to a person. Okay, so somebody's hiring you, someone's teaching you, someone's onboarding you, someone is taking you through the new employee journey, right? Somebody's there teaching you, and then you go home with a check, right? And then you do it over and over and over, right? That's how you get your check, by continuing to work. When you have a business, you're buying the obligation to do that for yourself. So instead of someone else onboarding you, someone else teaching you the ropes, and somebody teaching you all the SOPs and the operating standard operating procedures that are already at the business that have been running for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 100 years, you're figuring all that out. You're buying the obligation to do it on your own. That's all a business is. Your business is an obligation. You're buying back the right to figure all that on your own. So if you actually don't want to figure out how to start a business, you probably shouldn't. You should probably get a 9 to 5 because all of that is figured out for you. And the best thing, or I guess the worst thing, is it's not transferable, in my opinion. If you go to a 9 to 5, and I've heard this a lot growing up too, is that everyone needs to have a 9 to 5 because 9 to 5 teaches you how to have a business and how to conduct this and how to speak to people and how to do this. I personally don't think that. I don't think having a 9 to 5 is actually as beneficial as people make it out to seem. I don't think it actually teaches you much about it teaches you a lot about how the world works in the past, but it doesn't prepare you for the future of careers that are to come in the next age. And so when you're starting a business, remember that it is a funding opportunity. Same way people say use a 9 to 5 to fund your dreams. Use your business to fund your dreams because I can guarantee you your dream is not sweating in a warehouse, shipping out thousands of products. Yes, you may be so happy and have that pride and have a proud moment with yourself because you have built this huge thing that just generates so much income. But when you think about the amount of work that you put into it, all the sweat labor, all the mental equity, all the struggles that you had to figure out yourself, it's really not worth it. Because what do you get to do? If you have a business that makes $1 million a year, you're working like you make $1 million a year. You are still fulfilling packages, you're still fulfilling orders. And this is where we get into like digital. So it's like, okay, I don't want to sell Demon brushes. I want to sell a digital product teaching people how to white label, right? So instead of actually selling the white labeling, you turn over to doing digital marketing. You still have to contribute to that. You still have to contribute to that. Every single day, every single week, every single month, you still have to push out content in marketing. You still have to share it with people. You still have to talk about it. You still have to you're still obligated to figure all that on your own. And so that might be your thing. You might be like, you know what? Actually, having a business and learning all that on my own, I have a ton of free time. I have money to spare and money to waste. And I just want to learn it from the ground up. And that's what you choose to do. Fine. But if you are on the brink of poverty, living paycheck, and you think that starting a business is literally what's going to make up a contract to give yourself the right and the obligation to do all the hard work yourself, it's not going to make you rich. A business is a funding opportunity. So when you start a business, and I want to sell these, my objective starting a business is not, I want to make so much money selling these brushes. And at one point I thought that I was like, I'm just going to sell products and I want to make money from it. And I'm going to make $1,000 a month and it's going to be able to cover some of my bills. And then that's going to be the great thing. And I'll have multiple side hustles. It'll all work out perfect. But then I realized, okay, well, if I'm making $1,000 from this, I can only make another $1,000 if I do the same amount of work. I can only make $2,000 if I do a little bit more work. I can only do $10,000 if I put in more. The input is more. To reap more, you're always going to have to input more. Doesn't matter. To reap more, to get more, to increase your income, to increase your skill, to increase whatever, you will have to put in more. You cannot get more putting in the same or less. Can't. The input has to be greater to reap a greater outcome and a greater output. However, this is how banks stay rich. That exact same principle. They understand. It actually is stupid to think that you will start a business and the money that you make is what you're going to use. Because when you make $1,000 from this brush and you're like, oh my gosh, great, like I'm having a successful business, and you spend that $1,000, the $1,000 is gone, and now you have to resell brushes. Now you have to literally do the same thing over again. You cannot make money from a business unless you continue to do the same thing. Again, you have to input. When you learn that a business is a funding opportunity for investments, a 9 to 5 is a funding opportunity for investments, you look at it a lot differently. You think to yourself, okay, yes, this is supposed to be like the thing that I'm using, and this is the thing that I'm like using to make myself rich. But when you think about, okay, I'm using this brush to make me $1,000, that's not my intent. My intent is to take that $1,000 and make it be an input for something else. Make the money that you have an input for investments. So it doesn't really matter. Like if I were to look back like 2 years and 5 years ago, I would tell myself, I mean, I wish I knew, right? But I would tell myself, hey, don't focus so much on like really like, oh my God, I need to start a business. I need to have a business. Like there's nothing that, I can do if I don't have a business, and a business is the key to financial freedom. It is not. It is an obligation to the right to do more hard work. And you, as an individual, do not have the same infrastructure as a company that's been around for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. You don't have that. So unless you want to spend the next 50 years and you have a whole family of 15 kids and 20 aunts and 20 uncles around you, and y'all are going to come and make an empire together, sure. But you as an individual, you cannot rely on your own input to get the output that you want. You have to remember that if you make $1,000 from this brush, you now have to turn around and do it the next month. You have to do the same thing the next month, the same thing the next month. When you turn your idea from $1,000 to use to pay my bills and you change it to $1,000 to put into input, right? Put into my investments that are going to make me $10,000. Now you technically saved yourself 10 months of work. You took 1 month of income, $1,000 of selling these brushes. You took the $1,000 and you made it into 10,000. You did not sell this or do this or start something with the intent for that to be your end all be all. And that has been my problem a lot in the past too, is I think, oh, I'm going to do this thing and that's going to work out. I'm going to do this thing and this thing is going to work out. There is no such thing as an end all be all. The end all be all is when your input makes multiplication. And if I'm inputting in here and I'm inputting $100 into this business and it's outputting me $1,000, that is what, tenfold, maybe, probably. I don't know. Let's just say that's tenfold. How amazing is it that I can take that same 100? Well, basically that's ninefold. It's like 9 times the amount. It's like $900 more. So tenfold, but in actual numbers, it is $900 that I'm making. If I could take that $900 and not reinvest it into here, but I say, you did your job. Thank you, business. You have funded me $1,000. Great. Or $900, right? I'm going to take that $900 and input it into investments that will make me 10,000. So I'm going from $900, $1,000 to 10,000. That is where wealth comes from. The wealth does not come from individual inputs. It comes from the compounding. And again, this is why businesses and banks are so rich, because it only takes money to make more money. It doesn't take more effort, more time. You don't need more than 24 hours in a day. And I make more money because I have more hours in a day than you, or I have more resources, I have more whatever. It literally is about the applicability of your skill and what you're choosing to do with your skill. And the best thing that you can do, instead of changing your job and changing your career with the intent, you just make money a different way. Think of, how can I use the money I currently have, even though my job sucks, I hate this life, whatever. Understand that you are trading an evil for another evil. Leaving a job or leaving a business and going back to a job, or going from a job back to a business, you're literally leaving twins. You're leaving evil twins. This is evil twin 1 and evil twin 2, and you're just interchanging back and forth, and you never realize that you are going to have a bigger input. Now, if you run at your own business, your bigger input is more brushes, more time, more energy, more employees, right? When you have the idea that this is just an income generating funding opportunity for me, my business, it goes from more employees, more work, more time, more contribution. I'm staying up late nights, et cetera, et cetera. It goes to, okay, I sold brushes $900 first month, double that, triple that, and I do that for 10 months in a row. Now I have $9,000. If I continue, so if you continue to invest that $900 and then you do it 10 times or 12 times or however long you want to do it, that is the big input. Doesn't that make sense? So instead of focusing on this brush as your end all be all to make you money, you take what you make from this business or from this job or from these people or whatever you do, you take it and you take this money and you go invest it. Because that money that you're investing is going to make you more money. That is the bigger input. Instead of like, if I started a business with the intent, like I can't unsee it now, so I would never do that. But if I were to start a business and say, I want to sell products, I want to sell this thing or become a coach or whatever, and then I slowly realize, hey, if I want to make more money, I have to do more. The input has to be bigger. If the principle is true, that I have to input more to get a bigger output, why don't I just make my input something that doesn't cause me more stress, right? Having and building a business is going to cause you to have to expand things you probably don't want to. And as a person that is really focused, you probably heard this in my other videos, like a DL or LD, like a life design or desired lifestyle. There are just some things that I'm not going to do at all. And one of those things is live unlike the person who I'm working to be. If I'm working 12, 16 hours a day, I'm going to live like a person who works 16 hours a day. And that is not the life that I want. I don't want to make $200,000 a year and only be working. Because when do I get to live like a person who makes that amount of money? You don't. You do not get to live like that type of person. You get to have a business making $1,000 a month, but it covers let's just say $1,000 covers everything. It covers all your bills, but now you're basically reset at the beginning of the month. And that is a terrible feeling to know that you're in an endless loop. I don't really think there's anything wrong with a job necessarily, besides like the fact of like most people get jobs they don't like. But I think that's user error anyways. But I don't think there's much wrong with jobs, but I think that is wrong to have a job without the intent to use that money for something that actually would get you out of that cycle. The cycle is vicious. But it exists everywhere. There's a cycle when you're at your 9-to-5 job. There's a cycle with the relationship that you're in. There's going to be this cycle that you're stuck in, this rat race when you have a business, when you have literally anything. It's not just the 9-to-5 thing that is like messing people up. It's literally a way of life. If you don't get yourself out of that rat race mentally, you're going to just leave your 9-to-5 and go do a rat race at your business. You're going to say, oh, my business is hard. I'm actually going to leave this job and I'm going to leave my business and I'm going to get a job and then go do the rat race again. And they're going to say, oh, I want to try again. So I'm going to go back to my business, and they're going to go do a business rat race and then go do a 9-to-5 rat race. And then you're still forgetting, you're not understanding the fact that you are running a rat race. The point is to not have a rat race. And you can only get out of the rat race if you make the input something that you don't actually have to do. That's why businesses are not businesses, but that's why banks are so incredibly successful, because what do? They take your money, and then when you put money into a bank, they take that money, they invest it. They go invest it. They do all the hard work. It's not I mean, hard work, but they go do the work. They're like, these people are going to put their money and sit it in the account. I know that money doesn't make money that way. I know money works when you have a lot of it. So I'm going to take all their money, go invest it, and then pay them back 4% of it. And I'll keep the rest. And that's how businesses work, because they understand that your input needs to be big enough, but it can't be an input that is humanly impossible. There's no possible way that a human would be able to work to make $1 billion. But there is a way for you to take 1 million and make it into 10, and make that 10 into 50, and make that 50 into 200 million. There's a way to compound it by increasing your input. So stop being in the mindset that you are going to take your current life and then just think having a business is going to make it work. Enter into business knowing it is a funding opportunity. And if you're not willing to wait for that whole business to work out, it's probably not the best option to start a business, because you probably do have the funds right now to go ahead and start investing. The end all be all is investing. The end all be all is not changing the career, and the investing actually is the most time freedom based thing that you can do, because it has no effort attached to it. It's money working for money instead of you working for a business and you taking that money and spending it, having expenses, having employees, having all these things, having to produce products, having to pay for a website, right? When you make money, you shouldn't make money with the intent that all the money you're making or some of the money you're making has to go back out. The point is to have the overhead super low, and investing is literally one of the only ways to do that.